Hey guys, this is Stream Dr. Duck here at Denki Studios. Today we're going to talk about graphic design for entrepreneurship. So stick around and let's get into it. So why graphic design for entrepreneurship? Well, if you're a content creator or you're a small business and you're struggling with getting people to watching your videos, I think having a basic knowledge of, fundamentals of graphic design will clearly give you a clear vision of how you communicate to either a client, another small business, or a big business, or private consumers, what they are expecting to see in this video and what is the value of the video. Because clearly, every single day, when they're looking at something, there's something that they clearly gives like that spark, that catch, that actually is so captivating that they are taking the risk of looking at it and jumping head on. And if there's a little gross expectations out of the end, and they're expecting something but they're getting something else, it's basically gonna trail off. So if you're doing clickbait, then your short-term goal of getting people to just jump in and then they're getting a different result means that you're gonna scare away, and your authenticity and your specific aim long term will basically not be a good one. So, for an instance, it's like visual body language. You could say one thing, but your body communicates in a very different direction, and that to a lot of people is not only very contradictory, but it's also confusing. So that's why you have to be conscious, not only when you're talking to people on more of a local and visual level. You have to be so aware that you're not giving the wrong signal or the wrong language, visually speaking, so that the whole communication itself is basically shown off. So, just like with images and symbols and the way that things are arranged, and when it comes to graphic design, which is basically visual communication, you also have to think about how, psychologically speaking, it's basically affecting you for watching the video. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to say on this specific video, and not only on the title, but on the thumbnail, this is what you're expecting to get out of it, and this is the value that you're going to get. And so, for me, and especially for us over here at Denki Studios, the more clarity you have with using graphic design elements in your content creativity, the more likely you're going to be able to get people interested to look at your video in the first place. And it's not about taking shortcuts, doing clickbaits, using overly saturated colors, and being vague and trying to throw everything at a plate. You're trying to aim towards a certain clear direction. And when you're being really specific and really clear, then there's no hesitation, doubts, and concerns from someone who's watching the video. Is my 5, 10 minutes, 20, 30, an hour, is that going to be well spent when they're looking at it? So the more clear you are with using graphic design elements for your videos, the better experience it will be for someone who's watching your video, and to keep them coming back and having a great experience and getting the expectations of what they're seeking and looking forward to when they take that time. Now, bonus video. This is a video where I have no idea when it comes to graphic design. I know it intellectually. I've been hearing it like all over the place, what design and all these things. But conceptually, for myself, I haven't really understood what graphic design really is all about. Which is why I want to show you, and hopefully on this video, you will not only learn something new, it will be at a much higher level than what you usually see, either on graphic design schools or anything else beyond what you currently see or above. And this is also from someone who's very experienced, who's been doing it for many years of their lifetime, has been doing it all around. So I have a mentor who clearly gives me the specific clues. And as I said in this video, this is gonna be where the consciousness is gonna be a clear thing, a clear factor. Because what he's doing is actually helping me to understand what graphic design is all about. So please stick around for the video, and at the end of the video, please make sure to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, and also make sure to share the video so you can also help other content creators, in addition to, small businesses, for not only using it for videos for YouTube, but also for clearly communicating that on Twitter or for using any other social media. And it not only has to be videos, but it could be a blog, it could be a website, it could be anything that is having a clear aim intention, visually speaking, to reach the people, to say to them clearly, this is what you're getting, and this is the value that you're gonna get if you spend your time and take the risk and giving us the time to put us in the highlights. Okay? See you then.
Well, basically all graphic design is built off a grid. It's all built off a grid. So one thing you're not doing right now when we were moving that stuff around, so you have this grid underneath, right? So this line see that? So this line, you got to be paying attention to all this negative space and how all the objects are interacting with each other. That's more the design than the solid shapes. So like this doesn't work because see there's a line right here. You put it in the grid, right? Right, so if you flush this over to work off that line, see what's happening? See that? So that's the main thing I want to share. I'll keep showing you graphic design principles, but you have to teach your eye to, like when you're you had that triangle, right? And then you had two little squares underneath. Right, see how different dynamic starts to happen? Because the grid is right here. See that? And so it's not, there's no rules really. You don't got to put anywhere, but really designing our eyes notice. See that? Because of this grid. right? And so type gets even more intense because, like, if I said, that's why, like, when I originally put that DS down, it was all whack looking because this thing is so, this is designed. I'm looking at all the negative space in here and how everything fits together and flows. Lunalicious, what's happening, lady? So then IPC, right? And see how whack that kind of looks? It's because in letters, everyone's used to the spacing, right? And so, like, even right here, there's there's not as much space as there's here. See, because it's the grid again. So real creative design is you don't got to follow the grid. Like, you can put an object right here, right? But once again, I guess that I'll give you two principles. One is this grid. You got to pay attention to the grid all the time. So say you get a lettering you like. Okay, so that's a font you like. You get an oval you like. You may get a arch you like, right? And you may like get some cool shapes like that. Whatever that Horus eye or has like cool shapes, right? But start learning to see the grid. So there's a grid right here. There's a grid right here. And actually, I've been doing it so long that I don't use it. But that's the power of Art Tech or whatever, the whole Infinity Designer. The whole power of Infinity Designer is you can pull up the grid and stick it right there. So you know exactly the distance. That's where science and math merge with art. It's basically called design. So when it comes to lettering or logos or anything you're uh, uh, communicating, you doing that with me this morning or my morning, your night, right? Uh, you can learn a lot from it if you do metacognition and you go back and you think about how I was thinking and the difference between how you were thinking, right? I go back and forth between metaphor designing, and geometric or mathematical, right? Which includes symmetry, right? Parallel lines, exact shapes, and the grid, right? So, what I was doing with you first is since I got this, right? This is communicating what the original concept was, which is basically Horus is the eye, right? Which is the all-seeing eye, right? And then we wanted vision, and we wanted sharp vision. So the triangle is really sharp, right? And then we wanted radiance coming from the eye because it's coming from the inside out, right? So that's metaphoric design. That's really thinking about what it's communicating. Now, to make it powerful and effective on people, going all the way back to the Egyptian times and hieroglyphs and all that, they they did more of what I call a spiritual design, but a lot of it is realming in this metaphoric design. So that's why when you're doing stuff like you're making circles, when you make a circle in the design, especially even in some of my creatures, right? That's kind of the downfall of the human spirit, right? Because when we lose confidence, I don't do a perfect circle. But that's what nature leaves us, right? Nature does perfect circles. So that's why I was so on you when you originally were, especially because you were an Infinity Designer and you're just laying down these blobs and these, and then you're also laying down a circle that's not a circle, right? Where that tool can get a circle, man. So that's why you're kind of what I call aristocratic, and your logical, practical, mindset, your European mindset is powerful, dude. Like you could become an amazing designer. Like especially if you're working with someone like me, and you let me stay in this realm, which I think this morning or whatever earlier you learned from me how to kind of merge these two worlds. But basically, if you get the skill set down here with the symmetry, the parallel lines, exact shapes, and the grid, right, then you can move into more spiritual or metaphoric design, right? Because you're communicating now with symbols and shapes and illustrative elements. So basically, what I'm telling you, I gave you basically three basic design principles, and one is the grid, and then two, I gave you how to look at it, from a communication, because now you're just not painting or drawing anymore. Now you're aiming it, like especially for business, right? Because you're communicating to people what we bring, right? And so I gave you the grid, way of looking at design metaphorically or geometrical, right? Or like architectural. And the last thing that was snuck in there, right, which I can go over more in depth, right, is really learning how to see the negative shapes. See, this shape right here is more powerful, this one right here, than this one and this one. And like when we were moving that scroll thing up and down, up and down, up and down, right? That's all I was looking at. I was looking at the space in between, and I don't think you were. Because this space in between can also go to metaphoric design again. Like, why is there space in between? Because if you look at nature and our industrial world, that's how objects and things in the world communicate to us. They have spaces around them. I mean, and then I guess the bonus thing I'll throw in, right, is start looking at corporate logos that you like. Like right now I'm looking at Chase Bank, and theirs is pretty amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen Chase Bank, but let me get it. And this shows a professional designer. Because what happens when you become a professional designer, you get to the point where you start very literal, right? So look at that thing, and then look at the grid I just showed you. See why the type is so powerful, because see. So for instance, this is the experienced designer, right? Because the grid's right here. Do you see what they did, Duck? See that? See, the grid's right there, the bottom of that object. If you draw a line across the grid, but look at this designer's so incredible. They didn't worry about these elements, they worried about the space in between, see? So on a metaphoric level, this little object is communicating that it is lives in its own. So it's, and this is a bank, right? So it's communicating stability, right? And then they're metaphorically using the word chase, not in the sense of I'm chasing you, but, it already is built in, right? And so they gave a little more quote unquote metaphoric flight to this. See, because it's not sitting on the baseline. That's called the baseline, right? But look what's going on. And this is a sign of an incredible designer, right? Because there's another grid right here. Like this line, these little spaces in between the little shapes. See, look at that. See, so you can't follow it. That's where creativity and innovation comes in. Because see, look, nothing is lining up to that. Not even a space is. You see what I'm saying? So this is where you become a more creative and artistic designer, because they're taking a risk. They're putting this on its own grid line, which it works. And one of the reasons it works is, look at this space in between that little object and Chase. Look at that shape, dude. It's incredible. And it lines up with this grid, which is, not a straightforward grid. You see the space between the E and the object is incredible. This little chunk right here. It's a very pleasing shape. And it marries the two, even though they're not like locked together. So that be another lesson you can remind me about, is Boolean functions, basically, which are in vector graphics, but they come from design. And Boolean is what you were doing today. First you had the D and the S separate, right? And it looked good, but the pyramid thing was so powerful that you look at the pyramid thing and then you look at these little shapes down here that had the USB out of it. And it was like, what the hell is that? Why is it sitting? It didn't look like it belonged there. And so that's why I had you keep moving it around everywhere, because I was like, what do you do with it? And it was real interesting doing it with you, because we were moving them all around together. But if I were in there, by myself, or we were in the physical same place, right? That's the playful part of a design team. Like we're using Infinity Designer, which moves so fast and has such precise tools that we can move that around, and we could do it. We were doing it pretty incredible. I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to encourage you to start making YouTube videos about even what we did earlier. Like, that is Matsu, making art together, supporting unity. But it also, to me, is the next level. I mean, you had a private university design professor, basically in a live vlog, live chat, live blog chat, working right there with you. And so I bet you can sense it right now in your brain, right? The whole thing we did, now I give you the theory, and now it's going to sink in. Instead of how, like, I know European, they started it all, right? And how they do this rote learning thing, right? Where they tell you all about this thing and they don't let you experience it. And then they give you a multiple choice test and see if you remember the thing. And it doesn't apply to anything, right? Because to design, you have to design, right? Okay, so the last thing is, I'll ask you, why do you think this logo is so powerful? Look how simple it is. First of all, it had another course geometric thing, which is kind of symmetry, which is repetition, right? It has the same shape 4 times, right? What does this shape communicate to you, Duck? Or first of all, what shapes is that shape? Like, there's 4 of them. What is that shape made out of? What basic shapes is this shape made out of? It's a rectangle and it's a square. It's a rectangle square. So square, right, is the foundation of a house. Square is, even in MC squared, right, is basically a duplication of something, right? Square has corners, right? So it's very much foundation, right? And then they don't use the full triangle. They're only using like the point of it, like almost half of it. So you can metaphorically say that those two shapes together provide vision. But look, each time this little half triangle, it's grounded on all four sides. And so it's communicating, it has vision, but this vision is grounded, right? And this is a financial institution, so they want to constantly be communicating that your money's safe, they're not going anywhere. They also can grow with you as you grow, and they can change with you, right? And their metaphor of chase, right? Which is kind of strange, right? Because, you don't want to think about chasing money, right? But chase also, may be more progressive. And see, this is where it shows they handed it off to another junior designer. And I don't know why they decided to do this weird thing, because it kind of looks like ice. Right? So this to me doesn't make any sense why they did that. But it doesn't, I guess it doesn't matter so much at this point, because you've already committed, because this is a checkbox, right? But what do you think the most powerful thing of this logo is, Duck? In the design principles I just taught you, like why is this logo so powerful? Like in the geometric side, not the metaphoric. Yeah, it looks like an envelope being bent on one corner. Whoa, yeah, see, so that's even deeper metaphoric design. An envelope, right? Envelope is definitely a money institution. They could be communicating safeness, right? Like we're a place to put things and we're safe, right? And to send things too. Earth to Duck. Wrong answer. Well, the square is geometrical, but the square is the negative space. See, that's the difference between a novice and a designer. Yeah, the most powerful part about this logo is the square and those lines in between. It's all negative space. The lines in between are the key. And if you want to really look at the most incredible graphic design, is look at money. See, it's the most incredible thing about this logo is the square here and these negative spaces. That's why this thing is so badass. And design is super consciousness, man. Design is being total consciousness. I'll show you another logo that is a street clothing company that I love to death, and their logo, one of their logos is incredible. Tell me why this logo I think is incredible. Yes. And then this is why I think you'll be a great designer, but I'm always just confused. Probably it's just your courage and your courage to use your intelligence. But like you're anal with like a lot of things, man, with language, with stuff. You get so, and another term for that is stubborn. You're like super stubborn when it comes to logical or, you know, geometrical things. But then when we get you in, well, today you started changing for some reason, maybe because I was guiding you. But when you get in Infinity Designer, you get all sloppy, man. Like when you do design, everything has to be tight. And do you see now, like, why we were kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? Because you weren't looking at the negative space. And when you were designing things, you get kind of lazy. You're kind of like me. It's weird. You like just put it there. Like when you have those radiant lines out, either you don't know how to use Infinity Designer really well, or you're lazy, because it has all the tools to make all those radiant lines and all those things you were doing like exact without doing one at a time. That's the power of vector apps.
I hope you like it. It was a perfect way for me to not only get toasted, but at the same time, it's a great experience to learn from someone who are definitely more knowledgeable than me. So that's why you have to be super aware. And you have to be in the conscious level, like being at the present moment. So stick around more if you want to be in the present moment and learn something that will help your business grow. My name is Stream Dr. Duck at Denki Studios, and I see you in the next video. Please make sure, as I reminded, to like the video, share it around to help other people, and I'll see you again hopefully in the next video. Take care for now.